Well, good Saturday evening or Sunday morning, my friends. It's going to be a beautiful day, it should be, and there's some things we could talk about or listen to or think about related to contentment. Let me start out with our normal prayer. Gracious God, please leapfrog over the distance so those listening hear this as if we were all together in our peaceful sanctuary. I talked to someone the other day who had lost a lot due to COVID-19. He is not the only one. This has been a strange time for all of us. I wanted to get my hearing checked, go to the dentist, have my car worked on because something was wrong with the starter, get a haircut, and grab a bite to eat. None of it happened. The places that do those things are shut down. Now, these folks make their living from people like us. When we don't go in, when we don't go to use their services, there's no income. Multiply this time hundreds of thousands of people. Someone is blind to not realize this virus is hurting a lot of folks, down in their deepest feelings as well as in their pocketbooks. What do we as people of faith offer folks hurting like this? We are people who believe God is always aware and alert of our human situations. We believe God has everyone's good in mind, but do we glibly and naively say to them, just trust God. God will take care of everything. God will take care of you. Well, that probably is a true general statement. It's basically true. But are there some components of our own that are necessary when expecting God to bring contentment or bring the peace that we want? There certainly are. One of these is we don't need to have anything we want. We don't have to have everything we want. We just have some basic things we need. When we want more than we need, it can be very unhealthy for us. For example, a large appetite that adds more to the body than the body requires is not a good thing. And do we feel sorry for someone with everything who is sad or upset because he or she cannot have something else that they want? What about ourselves? Do we feel really badly sometimes because we don't have something that we would really like? There's a Bible verse I memorized years ago that comes back to me ever so often. Philippians 4:11. I have learned no matter what my situation or condition to be content. That was written by a man imprisoned for several years. Now, maybe we're getting somewhere when we talk about the word commitment or bring that into our discussion. That is a big word. We all want to be content. We want peace. We want to be okay. But you know what? It's an inside thing that we're really looking for. When being content inside comes from things we have outside, it creates a problem and often makes contentment difficult to have. One of the tenets of our Buddhist friends is related to this very thing, being content regardless of the circumstances. When we are not happy because of something we don't have, then you know what? If all of a sudden we don't want it, bang, the contentment is back. This shows contentment is basically up to us, not God. The things we think we want and sorting out those between the things we need, those are us things, not necessarily God things. But the peace that God brings has to do with some of those choices that we make. It wouldn't take long for any of us to find times in our past when we were unhappy and upset because we did not get something we thought we really wanted. We had even convinced ourselves we really needed it. But later we recognized if we would have gotten it, most likely it would not have been good for us. It takes just a minute on the internet asking what has happened to those who won large amounts in lotteries to see many of their lives were ruined. Gigantic problems with friends, family, and lots of new friends because of the money made winning a nightmare. Most of us are now reaching for the stars. But still, when we look at what we all have, we could probably live on what could be called a lower level. It's not a goal to do this, but it is a goal to have contentment. And it may be that it will require us to be happy with less. Saints who live in bliss did not have many personal possessions. Contentment can't have many ifs. I will be happy if, I will be content if. To have ifs is to have conditions, and to have conditions is to have something outside of ourselves necessary for being okay. God presence, the Spirit of God within says, why do you need more than me to be at peace? True spiritual contentment has no I will be happy if. There are no ifs with spiritual peace. On one camping trip, my friends and I were frantically looking for fresh water. We had found a place we were going to set up and did, but did not realize we had water problems until later. There were a couple of unclean pools of water we could squeeze some water out of, but they were not particularly good. The water was not really clean, so we chose not to do that. Another camping group watching us for a time sent someone over to talk to us, wondering if we knew that there was fresh water in a spring just over the side of the hill. That saved the day. The water was crystal clear and fresh. The inner resources of God are abundant within. In us is fresh and overflowing God presence, able to provide everything our souls need. That God abundance, though, does not necessarily mean beyond our basic needs. God's Spirit is like an artesian well that provides as we need it and as we use it. To the spiritual person, it is the enjoyment of going to God for a refreshment and knowing what we need at the time will be given that is so pleasurable. Actually, I think we appreciate more of what we have when we have less. A person sitting down slowly eating and enjoying one apple may experience more taste pleasure than one who scarfs down several in a few minutes. On one occasion when finishing my Saturday walk, I ate a breakfast burger at McDonald's. I noticed a man near me who took forever slowly eating his single sandwich. It looked like he was relishing every single bite. My guess was it was a sandwich he had not had for a long time, and that he did not know when he would have again. This man was thoroughly captivated in the experience of eating, and he was enjoying every bite. How do we speak to people about contentment when the normal outer necessities are not being met. They're being threatened, like so many families are being threatened and individuals today. Employment, a place to live, making payments for what was purchased, being able to eat and provide for others depending on you. All these things are there and not being met for a few people now. In fact, quite a few. The contentment we talk to them about and speak to them about and to ourselves about is not related to those outside things. It's a promise about the inside needs. It's contentment with joy when we're being free from wants. Not wanting brings freedom of the mind. Always appealing to things that are outside that we just want is never going to leave us satisfied. Reaching for the peace that God brings inside that our souls experience has very little to do with what's going on out there. It's everything to do with what's going on here. There are so many stories of prisoners who have absolutely nothing but a cold cell with cement floors, finding abundant peace because there's something outside of God that becomes an inside flow. And it brings peace and it brings contentment regardless of the outside situation. This contentment and joy are in being free from our wants. Not wanting brings freedom to the mind. Always appreciating and enjoying what we do have, never noticing what we don't have, is a step toward happiness and contentment. We can walk with that if that's a normal thing we have become as a part of our thinking. We are really free when we have turned loose things we feel we must have. Many people, individuals and families, are having to do this right now. Maybe the Buddhists have this accurate. The most joy comes from needing the least. It's up to us to make the mental adjustments needed to be okay. That's what we have to do. Then God will do the part that He does that brings this joy to our inside souls, regardless of what's going on outside. It's a good thing to be able to believe and share with people that there's an abundance that you can find that is spiritual in nature, that's available for everyone, regardless of how much or how little someone has, that one can find within one's soul. When we decide that we don't need a whole lot of things, enjoy the few things we do have, and draw on God for peace within. And so it is.
Horses are restless with a fear they can't name. When the danger's outside you, it's harder to tame. We can see it move o'er the fields, darkening the corn. We all pay our homage to the gathering storm. They said it would miss us. Looks looks like they lied. I wish that my fences were more fortified. I hear the echo of thunder like a gunshot to warn. There's no use resisting the gathering storm. The wind will knock you to the ground and turn your world around. The storm can bring great honor or great shame. The rain will fall to fertilize and make you realize nothing that you knew will be the same. My boys went out hiking so far from the farm, and hoping and praying they won't come to harm. 'Cause they're so far away, they won't return till tomorrow morn. Please don't sacrifice them to the gathering storm. No reason behind it comes from the skies. That don't make it righteous in this old farmer's eyes. For when you plant a seed in the earth, it surely will take form. The seed is now growing in the gathering storm.